Hello and welcome to Logistically Speaking, the weekly podcast where we bring together some of the most interesting thought leaders in the world of logistics and supply chain management to discuss current events, insights, as well as best practices. Logistically Speaking is brought to you by Bring, the enterprise-class last-mile logistics platform. Hi guys, welcome to the show. This is episode 5 of Logistically Speaking. I'm really excited. We're really kind of getting into a good flow here. Apologize about not having an episode last week. There were a few holidays there, so it made it a little tough, but we're back this week with a great guest. A little bit of background about the show, like I do every week. This is a show where I bring in experts and thought leaders in logistics, supply chain world, providing, thought leadership and just insights that we can all use in our everyday lives. And the goal of this is really to create a community of like-minded people to discuss these issues and these topics and really help each other. We've created a LinkedIn discussion group to have these conversations, and it's just called Logistically Speaking. You can search it on LinkedIn, and I'd love for you guys to join. I'll have the link to the group in the comments section or the description section of the podcast, so you guys can click that. And so with that, this week we have a really great guest. He's been in the supply chain industry for quite a while. And I'll let him give his background, but I want to introduce my friend Tom Brouillette.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for inviting me on this show. I really appreciate it. As Mark said, I've been in the supply chain business and especially in the retail industry for well over 20 years, working for and with large direct-to-consumer retailers and brick-and-mortar retailers. So I've got a very varied background in a lot of experience. And one of the things that I'm really excited about right now, or really interested in right now, is the concept of the supply chain as a retail channel. We've all been thinking about retail channels as the new buzzword is omni-channel in retail, where you have e-commerce or brick and mortar. I think, though, that misses the mark now, because you've got a connection with the supply chain across and between consumers and retailers that are bringing more players into this retail industry. One of the big players coming up, I think, is the manufacturers, and they're selling channels through the e-commerce platform directly to the consumers. Probably about 10 years ago, I think, retailers, in an effort to expand their offerings to consumers in the e-commerce sector, started a strategy that they began calling endless aisles. And what this was offering up products from various manufacturers directly through the retailer's e-commerce channel. And they would, so the consumer would come and place their order on the e-commerce channel, and the retailer would send that order to be filled directly by the manufacturer. So, and I think over the years, what I've seen is that manufacturers have taken that concept and accepted it and really embraced it to open up a new channel for themselves. And the changes and improvements and extensions in the supply chain and the last mile delivery and parcel delivery by the major players such as FedEx and UPS and even USPS has really kind of blown open the doors on the marketplace. So much so that the retailer or the consumers now, I believe, are coming and taking control of what they're exerting more control in their shopping patterns and shopping habits. So this is kind of it's in its infancy now, I believe, but you can see in many ways, in many areas, these concepts really taking hold.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think, we're really looking at kind of the whole supply chain really, being turned on its head. What was kind of the traditional model is really kind of changing before our eyes in a really fast kind of way. That what you're talking about here
Do you think that puts, new kind of pressure on the, shipping partners for those retailers? And do you think that they have the ways and means and the wherewithal to adapt and kind of deal with the extra pressures that are going to be on their supply chains as a result of this new model?
I don't know, Mark, to tell you the truth. I think that it's going to be a very turbulent time for many retailers. And I think that we're going to see many retailers either collapsing and disappearing or dramatically changing. This is becoming, the retail market is becoming more of a collaborative marketplace, in my opinion. Consumers are collaborating with consumers in order to shop and purchase from different retailers and different wholesale manufacturers. And they are using the supply chain, the carriers and the freight forwarders and middlemen to help them to coordinate this. Mm-hmm. So everybody is getting a little piece of the pie, and nobody is going to be. It's going to be very difficult for any one person or any one retailer to control that market.
Right.
If you look back a few years ago, 10 or 20 years ago, when Amazon first came on the marketplace, nobody thought that an online retailer would be able to sell books. And within 2 years, they had rebuilt the market and driven, major book retailers out of the market that have been there for years and years and years. So we have an example of this happening in the past, and I think that this is happening again.
Yeah.
So that's what I find especially interesting, Mark.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it has to do with what, like you mentioned, that consumers are kind of working together, and I think and I would love your opinion on this, how the power balance. I think we talked about this earlier before we started the podcast. The power balance between the business and the consumer has now shifted towards the consumer, where it used to be, the business really dictated the channels and the different options and really kind of dictated what kind of products and the quality and everything. But now the consumer has so many more options, so many more channels, so many more ways to get insights and better prices on for different products, that it really kind of changed the whole model. And it seems like, Amazon was part of the reason that this was caused and also embraced that, whereas, some of the big box retailers didn't.
That's a great point, Mark. I think with the explosion of mobile technology and the improvements in wireless technology, it has opened up doorways for consumers that they just hadn't had in the past. It was very difficult in the past for the consumer to deal directly with a UPS or a FedEx without actually going to a store and trying to coordinate this. Now you never have to leave the comfort of your home. Consumers have embraced this technology and these capabilities to really allow themselves. They're creating a new method for them to shop. They have the challenge that they're developing this shopping method to really enhance and fit in with their lifestyle. They don't have time to go shopping with the kids. They don't have time to spend a weekend at the mall. But they do have time to spend, they do have 20 or 30 minutes at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night to talk to their friends on the social networks and do their shopping and take advice and learn from their friends and family what they recommend, what they're buying, what they're looking for. And this is so in the past, the retailers have really been able to control this. They've really been able to say, here's the products that you have to choose from. Here's the price that you have to choose from. Now consumers are just walking away from that. They don't need to put up with that. they're able to find their own market in a sense, and this can be disconcerting for the big box retailers because they just don't know. I think my impression is they just don't know where to go. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, it seems that Amazon really kind of put them on their something, and a lot of them didn't see it coming. But I'm starting to see some changes. Walmart, I think, just bought Jet.com for something like $1 billion, and to me, and I think a lot of people see that as a clear shot across the bow to Amazon, because Jet.com was started by an ex-Amazoner. And Best Buy, I think, in their last quarterly report had a huge increase in revenues, and a lot of that came from their online retail. So it seems like they're really trying to grab that land back, because it seemed they were kind of resting on their laurels for a long time, assuming this online retail thing would go away, and then Amazon just gobbled up the whole thing. And so it seems like they're trying to mimic what Amazon did, but who knows if they're going to be able to do it, because Amazon seems to be one of the most innovative companies, both technologically and operationally, that we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think Target's another one of the big box retailers that are really. I think I saw something a couple weeks ago that Target is looking for a good portion of their increases from the online channels. By the same token, though, the person that was running the Target online e-commerce at Target also walked away, or was walked out. So it's a very. I think retailers are in a precarious situation, such as Walmart and Target and Best Buy. Macy's is another one. Macy's was doing a great job, I thought, in expanding their online and their omni-channel presence. But something happened and it's just not clicking. And this is where I think the social aspect comes into play. Retailers are only looking at the purchase side of things, the sale side of things. The difference between the general retailer, a Walmart, for instance, and Amazon is more focused on the social aspect of the interaction with the customer. They're looking for, every time you buy something from Amazon, they're asking you for a rating on not only the seller, but also the product and how to use it. They're engaging customers, and this is changing. This is why customers come back to Amazon. This is changing the way they interact and deal with Amazon. Amazon is blending services, products, and capabilities to come up with new aspects and new services. The Amazon Prime, for instance, you come up with a service where it starts off as getting free second-day shipping for your membership, and they've expanded it into their TV, their video market. So now it's offering movies and TV shows, and they're expanding it into music and all of these other areas. Just by putting products and services together. You don't see too many other retailers really providing that kind of well-rounded or that vast array of services to the consumer.
Yeah. And it seems like, on the last mile end of it, I think it kind of is the same thing. The pressures of having such a more competitive market are putting, part of the competitive advantage that people are creating is on the shipping end and the last mile. The shipping options that they provide, the kind of shipping experience that, delivery experience people get. And I think that a lot of things like Amazon and Black Friday and all those things are, what do they call it? Not digital money.
Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday, exactly. So those put, the peaks in demand for the shipping companies kind of threw them off course. I know that on Christmas in 2013, and I think this past year, some of the third-party shipping partners of Amazon were unable to fulfill items in time for Christmas, and that caused a lot of backlash. Even though they had prepared and they knew it was going to be this huge spike, I think that it seems that some of these retailers are promising shipping options that some of their partners are unable or have been unable to provide. I don't know. So I don't know where you see that going in the future. I know there have been rumblings about Amazon taking over shipping completely and maybe phasing out their relationships with the third-party shipping companies.
Well, yeah, Amazon is doing some very interesting experiments, and when they experiment, they have a huge platform to experiment with. They're getting into the same day deliveries. They're getting into their own shipping, because as he said, if you want to guarantee service to your customers, you have to control that. You have to control that aspect. I think that you see a lot of the main parcel carriers, the FedEx, the UPS, the USPS, battling it out with each other on service and capabilities. I actually think that the USPS is, if they can hold on and maintain and keep their act together, I think that they have a good chance of really overtaking some of these other carriers, a UPS or a FedEx, because the secret to their ability is that they deliver to every house every day. So whereas the UPS and FedEx, they really don't. They go to these. They would rather deliver to businesses. Now think about how e-commerce is changing the way that people are purchasing, and the spread of people moving away from cities and urban areas. The delivery aspect is getting more and more spread out, so that's putting more and more pressure on these carriers, and it's opening up more and more opportunities for the Postal Service, because, like I said, they're already delivering there, and they're delivering at a reasonable rate in about the same time frame, relatively the same service aspects. So it's going to be an interesting few years coming up now, as consumers are really exerting their own demands and taking, kind of driving changes into the retail aspect. But I think that over the next, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if over the next 3 to 4 years that the cyber shopping, if you will, or cyber purchasing, especially the Cyber Monday, blends into a weekend, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised that the majority of sales are being driven electronically via e-commerce, because going out on Black Friday can be a fun social experience until you're carrying 5, 6, 7, 8 bags of merchandise around with you.
Right.
Then it's not so much fun,
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of where the retailers can take advantage, because they have that presence. If you could go into a store and place your order in the store and have them deliver it to you the next day, so you don't have to carry out those bags, that had changed that whole shopping experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of some retailers are already providing that kind of shipping option, that kind of fulfillment option. I think the challenge is for retailers is that they're so large, and they're so their processes are so ingrained that they have to kind of turn into almost a startup environment where they can become lean and change different parts of their supply chain without having to go up and down the entire hierarchy of business. That's really where large companies kind of fail, right? They're like this lumbering machine where decisions have to be approved at every step of the from the top down.
Yep.
Yeah, and so that kind of becomes the challenge.
I agree. You make a great point there.
Yeah. So shifting a little bit, where do you think some of these new fulfillment technologies, like, for example, drones, that's a very hot topic now. Do you see that, it seems like every year they're like, it's coming soon, and it still is in its infancy. Do you see that happening anytime in the near, like, what is the timeline that you see before we're going to start getting drones on a larger scale?
I'm having a problem, quite frankly, Mark, trying to understand the value of the drone delivery. I think it's a great concept. I think it's really, it catches your imagination. I would think maybe 3 to 5 years, maybe, for drone deliveries. I think I think I'm beginning to believe that this may be a concept that drives different ideas, different delivery concepts, and different delivery capabilities, and never really becomes a reality, because I'm having a problem, and maybe it's just because I'm not creative enough, but I'm having a problem conceptualizing where the value comes in delivering one package to one door. Now, I can see that if you have, I could see in a rural aspect, right, where houses are miles apart, that would make sense. But I don't really see it happening in an urban area for quite some time. However, that being said, there's an awful lot of, as people start changing their shopping patterns and are purchasing online to deliver to their home more often, it would provide an advantage to the carriers to perhaps set up hubs that are within 5 mile, a drone distance, if you will, to deliver to some of the housing subdivisions, so that they don't have to spend money on sending a truck and a person there.
Right.
I think, quite frankly, though, a lot of this will change depending on the cost of fuel and the availability of fuel and gas.
Right.
And so if gasoline goes up to $6 an hour, yep.
Right.
That's it, exactly. If gasoline goes up to $6 a gallon, then there's going to be a much larger pressure, better reason to deliver via drone. If it stays $2 a gallon, I don't know that there's really that value to be gained.
Right, and it's the gas market, the oil market is so difficult to figure out at this point. I guess it's interesting that it might be that because the price of gas is so cheap, that kind of stunts the innovation around drones, because it's not really, in terms of economics, it doesn't really quite make sense right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting.
But that all that being said, as we're talking about it, it kind of dawns on me that those are exactly the technologies that Amazon starts investigating and playing with and experimenting with to develop into something, to develop into a service. Amazon, I mean, really, that's the start, that's the whole beginning of Amazon, right? They started in a technology, in an operation or a process that everybody said didn't make any sense at all.
Right.
And they made it into something.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Exactly.
Right. With the fall of, the pets.com and all these, startups in the early 2000s that raised a ton of money and then just totally went under, and Amazon was able to actually figure it out. Those are all interesting points. And I think, a while back I wrote a blog post about drones and how, I didn't see it happening in the very near future. And I got a little bit of pushback on that, but I think, it's a great idea, but in terms of, in terms of actually executing, to me, it seems like the only company that has the gall and the innovation to do it is probably Amazon. And I'm interested to see. I also, living in New York, it's hard for me to imagine in the near future, like drones buzzing over our heads in the current, environment of people being concerned about terrorism and all this stuff. I think it's, a legitimate thing that maybe people don't really think about. But the idea of just drones flying all over the place is pretty problematic in that environment, at least right now.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think, the interesting thing that's happening now, I think, Mark, is that the killer technology or the killer app or the killer service is really not it's not the spreadsheet. What it is, it's the little things. It's a bunch of little things coming together, like connectivity and collaboration. It's not any one thing that makes the difference. It's the combination of many little things that makes a huge difference. That, I think, is the point that's going to drive the disruption into the retail market.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good place to stop. I think we covered a lot of really good ground here, and I really appreciate you joining us today. This is really one of my favorite episodes so far, and so I'm really excited. We're gonna, have this on our site. We're gonna be able to stream it, and looking forward to getting people's comments about it. So, Tom, really, really thank you so much for joining us today. And I think our community is going to be very grateful for this as well.